I was talking about assertiveness skills, and negotiation is actually part two.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is actually part two. So that really helps me to link up. So basically, assertiveness, right? I mean, you just need to be able to express your feelings, what you want and what you feel without passive aggression, without anger, or without feeling like I need to second guess other people's responses or second guess yourself. The ability to be able to share honestly and transparently is actually a very difficult thing for a lot of us. Because we feel like, oh, well, what if they don't approve of me or they don't like what I say? Well, so what? You can't let these things to stop you from being honest. The moment you feel that you need to be dishonest, then that's the moment your mental health will go down. I feel so gutted that I can't even say what I want. Okay, whether what you want to say is right or wrong is not relevant. It's just about having the ability or the space to be able to share what you want, because like in a normal home, you should have a space where you can share what you want and what you need. Whether it's right or wrong, then it's up to the parents to bring guidance. And I would like our kids to bring all the wrong thinking and all the wrong things to us so that we know how to deal with it. What's the point of having them putting a nice boy mask on or a nice girl mask on and then we'll never get to deal with the real issues? Then I'll be a really sad parent. So if you want to have a real mutual respect and love, then the only way to go about it is to learn how to exercise negotiation skills. Have you experienced times that when you walked out of a conversation and you felt like, oh man, I just realized it, I just agreed to do something without thinking, without talking through, and then later on you felt resentful and you felt gutted. Man, why did I say yes, Or you feel like so trapped in or sucked in. If you ever felt like that, well, this topic is for you because you need to learn how to negotiate your way through. So what is negotiation? Negotiation is simply one person proposing what they want to another person, and then the other person responding to the other party with what they need or what they want until they both reach a mutual happy agreement. As simple as that, negotiation. The reason why we are covering this topic or the topic of negotiation is that because we want to escape living with resentment. We don't want to feel obligated all the time. We don't want to feel like we have no control over our lives and we feel powerless every time when we walk out of a strong conversation. So that's a very important thing to learn because we are all about taking ownership, responsibility, and living with enthusiasm. So basically, just like we want to live our daily life a little bit more happier, that's all. Well, at least we try to live a happier life as much as we can. But without those skills, I don't think you can as much, So whether you are at home or in a relationship, or working, or when you're in a ministry or involved in a project, exercising negotiation skills will keep your mind clear, will keep your heart light, because you are able to talk through and to come to some form of mutual agreement. Basically, it's just like, I'm happy, you're happy, let's do it. You know what I mean? At the point that when you feel like, oh gosh, after we talk, I still feel like I haven't really shared what I really wanted to say. And then I'm not happy. And then I still have to do it. What a miserable life. It's just because you didn't exercise the negotiation skills that were needed for that conversation. Yeah? So when someone proposes an idea to you, it doesn't mean that you just need to accept it without talking, without thinking, without processing. You can afford to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but let me think about it and I'll come back to you. And you don't have to just say, oh, well, because he's a man, so what he says is a verdict. Or because he's a woman, so I'll just have to listen. I have no choice. No. You can totally respond with a different proposal. That proposal has to work for you. It has to work for your health, your growth, and the goals that you set for yourselves. In other words, negotiation skills can actually bring you to a win-win situation, not a win-lose situation. We feel like we have to be really obliging. So we just thought, oh, well, I'll do everything you want, even if I have to suck it up. But then after you've done the whole thing, you really felt like you got sucked in, you know. So why don't you talk about this? Why don't you go back and say, hey, look, I have a little thought, and can we just come back to the table? Let's have another cup of tea. I have something else to talk about. It can be as simple as that. All right, so negotiation skills will deliver you from disappointment, obligation, resentment, or powerlessness. Negotiation skills will deliver you from playing the victim's role. They will deliver you from the evil spirit of it is what it is. They will deliver you from some of the most idiotic ideas and conversations. Amos chapter 3 in verse 3. How can two walk together except they are in agreement? 2 Corinthians chapter 6 in verse 14 says, do not be unequally yoked. Without happy agreements, how can two walk together without bruising each other every day? Without hurting each other every day? The yoke is like an agreement that allows both parties to walk on the same pathway. Now, while you may not always be at the same pace, but you better be on the same page.
Right.
It's okay for you to say, hey, look, you can run, but I can only walk. It's okay. Speed is not the only key to success. Understanding is. Agreement is. So we just have to understand that, okay, well, if we are not at the same pace, that's okay. But we need to be on the same page. So the yoke harnesses both of your strengths, or both parties' strengths. And without it, one person may overwork or overfunctions. The other person might be too chill and then eventually gives up. We see that dynamic plays out in couples all the time. One overfunctions, overworks, overtalks, and the other person is like too chill. Oh, okay, I'll let you lead. And then eventually that party just gives up, basically. It's just like you do whatever you want since, you think what you do is right and you just take over. That's called pretend agreement. We'll come to that a little bit later. People are in pretend agreement because they didn't negotiate. They didn't talk through what they can do, what they want to do, what they need to get it done. And they just think, well, because simply you have a stronger personality, so whatever you say, well, we just do it. But everyone was resentful. Okay, so you don't want that. It doesn't have to be that way. It's going that way. It's because the person who needed to talk didn't talk. That's all. Why should you go solo in the journey of your life if God has provided you the people around? Well, why? Because I don't want to talk. Exactly. Why don't you apply some negotiation skills to bring some people on board? Say like if Helen and I want to go for a holiday, we want to bring our kids there, we better negotiate our way through and to bring them on board. We are doing something that we enjoy doing, to do ministry, to teach people how to walk in the Spirit, soul care and stuff. We want people to come on board. We want you guys to come on board. So we better have some negotiation skills. So that's how it works. So yeah, Isaiah chapter 1 in verse 18. The Lord says, come now, let us reason together. Even though your sins are as red as scarlet, but it shall be as white as snow. Even the Lord himself said, come to the table, let's talk, right? What about Abraham? Abraham negotiated with the Lord. That's a really shocking story because I thought, would a man negotiate with God? Would a man come to the Lord and say, look, I've got a proposition and this is my proposal, Lord? That is shocking, but that's not the most shocking part. Because if you read the story where Abraham was negotiating with the Lord actually went with it. That was the shocking part. The Lord actually, well, you know what? Tell me. Test me. I want to hear. I thought, wow, the Lord actually wanted it. That's really amazing. What else? Even before we learn to negotiate with other people, we have to learn to negotiate within ourselves. I thought about it in the last few days. I thought, well, Abraham negotiated with God. We have to learn to negotiate with other people to make sure that both sides are happy. But what about ourselves? And then I thought, do we have any Bible examples where people actually negotiated within themselves? And actually, I found two. One was the story that we read last week. The wise manager, he was negotiating within himself. He said, look, I'm just about to get fired and I can't work. So what I'm going to do? Should I just keep working and drive myself down to the ground? I can't work. I can't beg. Hey, so what I'm going to do? What are you going to do? Well, you know what? Let's go and forgive debt. Treat other people a little bit better so that you can get a better deal at the end of the day. Sounds like a good idea. Let's do it. So he himself, within himself, he negotiated within himself. What about the prodigal son? When he came to his senses, he said, well, you know what I'm going to do now? I've got no food. My father's servants, they've got more food than what I can eat right now. So what are you going to do? Are you going to stay in the pigsty or are you going to go home? Yeah, I think I'm going to go home. There's a better deal. He negotiated within himself. So I want to bring up 3 things that involve negotiation skills. Number 1 is that you have to realize there is a balance of power in any relationships or in any conversations. A balance of power simply means we have an equal footing. We need to come into a balance of expectations. We call it the balance of power. Means like within any negotiation, within any deal or any conversations, you need me and I need you. That's all. Don't ever think that only that person needs the other person and the other person doesn't need the other person. That's not true. Even if you think of a husband and a wife situation, the wife can't say, because you are the income earner, so I will submit to you in all things. No, she looks after the kids. She organizes him. She organizes a lot of things during the day as well. So while you are the income earner, you still need your wife. She can encourage you like no one else can. So don't always think that, because I make all the money, so I have all the say. No, it doesn't work that way. There is always a balance of power.
That's right.
Yeah?
That's a partnership too.
Yes, absolutely. When you don't have the balance of power, you will only have 2 types of people in a relationship. Number 1 is a dictator or a bully. And the second person is a victim. You only have these 2 types and nothing in between. And one person tends to dominate, overall, while the other one feels so oppressed, feeling resentful and desperate and depressed all the time, until the oppressed person sees the need to stand up to the bully. Okay, otherwise you will always play on that dynamic. And it's really sad to say that the both parties actually feed on each other. They both enable each other. If you have a Hulk, then you will have a soak. So you need to have a big angry guy. A soak means a sulky person.
Oh, like a sulking person.
Like a sulky victim. Quiet, shy victim.
That's good.
So you have to realize that a Hulk needs a soak to become a Hulk. Because without the soak, the Hulk will not become the Hulk. I know, it's so hard. And same as the other way around.
But why does the sulk need the Hulk?
Yeah, because he or she could feel, I have no choice. It is what it is.
Dependent on.
I don't want to break out.
That's right. They have a victim mentality.
Yeah. Because he's too loud, or she just knows what to say, or he gets angry. That leads to the second point. They only have the power when the other person sees that person has the power. So it's called the perception of power.
That's right. So
They really don't have power.
only the power you give them.
Yes, they only have the power when the victim gives the bully the power.
That's right.
They actually enable the bully. I was talking to a couple with a couple of teenagers 2 weeks ago. They were arguing. It wasn't pleasant. I actually talked to the guy and I said, it's not nice for the woman to wind you up all the time. She probably doesn't know that the man can actually get really physical and overpower her if she doesn't stop talking. In a lot of counseling sessions, that's what you've come across. They are just like at the bottom of the cliff. Now, I'm not saying that I condone or agree with the violence or physical abuse. And I'm not even hinting that any of us guys should do it. I'm not. If the man doesn't do it, maybe the man gives up, becomes a passive dead body sitting on the lounge. Yeah, sulking. Watching TV.
A dead sulk.
Yeah, playing with his remote control, giving up his life altogether because the woman was just too much. Now, on the other hand, I always say to the guy, don't you know that there is a balance of power where the woman can actually file a divorce and take half of everything away from you? You just pay for a good lawyer. It can be done. Don't you know that if you abuse your wife that way, there will be a consequence? don't you realize that there is a balance of power? So yeah, the perception of power, don't ever think that they have more power over you because they earn more money than you, or because they are older than you, or because they are more qualified than you, because he's the dad, or because she's the mom. No, it doesn't work that way. Or because he can nag longer than you, or she can yell louder than you, so you will yield and become powerless. No, it doesn't work that way. Both of them actually failed to realize that there is a balance of power. The next one is pretend agreements. Pretend agreement simply means being in a relationship with different terms and expectations. It's just like I think one thing and then she thinks something else entirely, and we thought that we are doing the same thing together. That's all.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I missed it.
Okay, we think we are doing the same thing together, but I expect one thing and she expects something else entirely altogether.
Oh, so a lot.
So pretend agreements is like one works so hard and then the other one sits on the couch watching TV, and then they just think both of us are running the family. Really? You're in a pretend agreement. One wants all the benefits of the family or of the marriage, but that person doesn't want to make any changes or contribute to anything. And then you think you are in a marriage? No, you are in a pretend agreement. Right, when you have a situation like that, usually that leads to frustration, or things are unorganized, or things undone. Just basically, you just can't move forward with one goes that way and one's not moving. The two parties find it difficult to team up because they get stuck in the state of pretending, unable to move forward. But communication and negotiation can dissolve that. Right, so let's just give some examples. In business or in the financial world, working in a partnership, if a partner makes a major decision on their own, well then it's not a partnership, isn't it? They are in a pretend agreement. If one partner spends a lot of money without telling the other party, then they are in a pretend agreement. What about in school or at work or in ministry? If you think you are helping someone or you're helping a youth, a child or a client, but that person actually doesn't want to get helped, you both are in pretend agreement. Teaching someone who doesn't want to loan their listening ears to you, then the teacher and the student are in a pretend agreement. Because the teacher can only have the power when the student loan their ears or their trust to the teacher. But if the student just sits down there and say, I'm not going to listen to you, so there's no agreement. What about this? Being dropped into a job or responsibility that you don't want and you didn't ask for. You are in a pretend agreement. You say, stop. We need to pause and talk. Okay, working hours that you never actually consented to. Why do I have to work for 3 more hours but I only got paid 1? You are in a pretend agreement. Being in a ministry but unwilling to trust the leadership's directions. Okay, so the leader thought that, you are following, but no, I'm not following, I don't agree, so we are in a pretend agreement and we need to talk. And a lot of people don't want to talk and they don't bother. It's a skill. In relationships, spending money on things that your spouse has never agreed to, then you are in a pretend agreement. I like this one. Being apologized to, but nothing specific was changed. It was a cheap sorry. We are in a pretend agreement. I thought you're going to change because you said sorry. So we better sit down and talk. Okay, so it means like we will disappoint each other, we'll fail each other because we're fallible human beings. But it's just like, let's just come back and talk. How are we going to do it next time? Okay, so what about this? One expects more commitment than the other one who's willing to give. You're in a pretend agreement. One person gives up and allows the other one to take control. You're in a pretend agreement. So the last bit I want to talk about is how to negotiate then. Okay, it's very simple. So I've got a few points. I can send it to you if you want. Number one is that take the time to identify what you want. Honey, what do you want to eat? I want to eat what you want to eat. Oh no, where do you want to go? I want to go where you want to go. Both of you guys are so undecisive. So that's not preferring one another. You guys just like have no direction. Before you go, you need to have something in the pocket to just say, well, I would like Vietnamese or Japanese, but I'll lay it down and I'll ask you what you want first. If you have something that you really want, then I'll go with it. But if she goes, oh, hey, what you want? Okay, fine, Vietnamese. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, you know. A lot of people can't negotiate because they don't even know what they want and what they need. So please identify within yourself. You need to negotiate within yourself first. If you don't know what you want, then how are you going to put it to the table and to tell the other person what you want? And the second thing is that establish your bottom line. Okay, this is as low as I can go and I'm not going to change. Okay, this is the level or your non-negotiables. So obviously, when we're married, we have to establish that we're not going to listen to our parents over our spouse. I know mom and dad, great, I love them, I love her mom, deeply respect them. But when it comes to making major decisions, the in-laws are not in the picture, my parents are not in the picture. Helen and I will talk. And then I will tell you guys. Right? Okay, well, we'll get input. I mean, because like my mom, she's just amazing with investments. I will always ask her, but I will never ask her first. I will always talk to Helen first. And then I'll ask her. You know why? Because we left and we cleaved together. So we are one, not me and my mom.
That's right. That would be a very dangerous situation.
Yep. Let me just clarify that again. I deeply respect my mom. And I will even tell Helen, when it comes to property investment, call mom. Right? She just has some amazing sound wisdom.
Listen to her wisdom.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we make our decisions.
But yes, but at the end of the day, we say thank you for the contribution. Thank you for caring for us. We'll take it back to our table and we make up our own mind. That shows that you are truly individuated. That shows that you are able to stand up on your own feet. Now, a lot of people can't get away with that because they think, I must obey my parents. Okay, back then I couldn't say it, but now I can say it. Is that that's your parents' greatest honor when you are able to stand up on your own feet and to make up your own mind and to go through the tough times and to live your life yourself. That's actually the greatest honor that you can give them.
Yeah.
Why would you be going back to mom and dad and say, Mom and Dad, I'm coming home? How old are you? I'm 50. 2 kids. I had an argument with my wife. I'm coming home. Mom, cook for me. And your mom will go, what the heck? Go back. That's like a shame to your ancestors if you do that. Okay, sorry, I'm exaggerating this, but do you see the point? You know, the greatest honor, the greatest respect, the greatest trophy that you can give to your mom and dad is to be individuated.
That's right.
Okay. Number two, think about what the other person wants and needs. So it's not all about you, even though you can identify what you want and what you need, but it's not all about you. Remember, negotiations is all about agreements, mutual, respectful agreements. So while you want to bring out what you want, and you want to see what the other person wants as well. And also you want to see how much they can compromise, how much they can give in. And then bring the data together, bring the pieces together to make another proposition. Okay, well, I didn't know that you can't eat gluten-free stuff. Okay, well, so why don't we go to that restaurant? I didn't know that data. I didn't know that. Now I have the information. So let's make a different decision. If they're not happy, then ask them for a counter proposition. But knowing that, after they bring in another counter proposition, you can also bring your counter proposition again. The goal is not about just going to and fro. The goal is just to make sure that both of the parties are happy. When both parties are happy, then you have ownership. You have agreement, you have energy, you have enthusiasm. You know, you own the thing and you run together. That gives you life. That gives you energy, and you don't get burned out. People burn out because they don't negotiate and they don't know that they are in a lot of pretend agreements. Okay. And last is to verify the happy, enthusiastic agreement. Are you sure that you are happy? We are going to a Vietnamese restaurant. Okay. Not Nando's tonight, Helen. I got sick of chicken. I want some pho, yo.
Pho's fine.
All right, so that's my talk.
Yeah, pho's good.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesus.
Very good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That was on point. I like the sulky hokey.
The sulky hokey.
The
sulky hokey.
I love it. I have a question. Did you come up with that yourself, Stan?
Yeah. I think one guy used to say that his wife was an incredible soak. And then,
was the incredible
yeah. And I was like, are you the incredible Hulk? We had a laugh.